Well, that's it. The 2017 season is over, and we get the checkered flag for the last time. And we now have a new NASCAR Monster Energy champion, and that champion is, drumroll please, Martin Truex Jr. wins the championship at Homestead and wins the actual race, the Ford EcoBoost 400, and I am just amazed. I mean, I had a feeling it was going to happen. He was my pick to win the race. He was in my bracket. My bracket got screwed up early on, but the one thing that remained consistent was Martin Truex Jr. I had him winning the whole thing, and even though I expected him to win it, just seeing him win it is still pretty amazing. I mean, when you think about that team being a start and park team when they first came in, and that Regan Smith drove that car, and I think it was Regan Smith who got that team their first win at Darlington, I think it was, during the Southern 500. And Joe Nemechek drove that car, and Kurt Busch drove that car for a little bit back when Kurt Busch was having that slump. I mean, when you think about all of that, and you think about that team not really having sponsorship, and a race shop that's in Denver, Colorado, where all the other race teams are in Charlotte, North Carolina. When you think about all of that, and now you see them as a championship team, it's just crazy. I never would have thought it. I never would have thought a single car team out of Denver, Colorado could get the job done. I never thought Martin Truex Jr. would win a championship. With his win today, that's his 8th win of the season, I think. Yeah, 8th win of the season. That was a dream year. And I don't even think Martin Truex Jr. could believe it. I mean, if you listen to him in Victory Lane tonight, I don't even think he could believe that he was standing there. It was almost like at any minute he was going to wake up, and it was going to be like that show Dallas, Who Shot JR. It was all a dream anyway. But amazing. I mean, a great performance all year long from that team. The best team won tonight. I mean, the 78 team was good from the start of the year. I mean, I don't think they had a bad part of the season. They were good right out the gate. And listening to Martin Truex Jr. the other day in the press conference, you know, there was a moment where he was uncertain if he was going to be a Cup racer. You know, he shows up in DEI, does okay there, and then has a stint with Michael Waltrip Racing where it wasn't very good. And he said there was a time where he wasn't sure if he was going to be a full-time Cup racer. And the phone wasn't ringing. And then finally it did ring. And it was the 78 team. Hey, do you want to come drive our car? I mean, sure. Sure, he would have said yes. It was a chance to get back out on the track, and I'm sure when he told them that he would drive their car, he did not think he was going to a championship team. He was thinking, well, at least I get to continue racing. I get to be out on the track, I get to turn laps, I get to be a race car driver. Maybe not a winning race car driver, but I get to be a race car driver. And then there he is, winning the championship. I mean, what a surprise. I mean, right? I mean, think about it. I mean, you know, if you were wanting to be a driver and a team like Penske called you, or a team like Hendrick called you, and you won, I mean, yeah, you were supposed to win there. They hired you because you were going to win there, and you accepted the job to that place because you knew they were going to give you a car you could win in. But if the 78 team calls you years ago, you know, you're not thinking like, well, this is great for me because now I'm finally going to get the chance to win. No, you take the job there because you want to race each and every week. You want to go to the track. You want to be out on the track. You want to be a race car driver. That's why you take that job. And man, Martin Truex Jr. answered the call, and here he is hoisting a championship. It's exciting. This is the reason why you watch racing and sports in general, isn't it? I mean, this is why you watch this stuff. You watch to see stories like that. You know, as race fans, we've had 7 years, 7 different championship battles of watching, you know, Jimmy Johnson win. And it was cool that he was making history, winning 7 championships, tying the king, Richard Petty, and Dale Earnhardt. But, I mean, this is why you watch racing, right? To see a single car team that started out in Denver, Colorado, Furniture Row Racing, Martin Truex Jr. win a championship after all these years of have mediocre teams and mid-pack finishes. All of a sudden, wins 8 races this year and wins a championship. I mean, this is why you watch it. That's stories you can't write, man. The race itself, not the most exciting championship race I'd ever seen. I was surprised. I think I had said that we were going to see the Toyotas dominate, and it was going to be pretty much Kyle Busch and Martin Truex Jr. fighting for the championship. And to be fair, the last 10 laps of the race, that's what it was. But the Fords were really strong at the start, and the Toyotas were struggling. And I was thinking, holy crap, have the Fords shown up ready to race, man? Brad Keselowski early in the stage finished second. Kevin Harvick had a few moments there. He actually got to the outside of Truex on a restart with 34 laps to go. They ran the last 34 laps green. There was a lot of green flag runs in this. It turned into Homestead's becoming Rockingham. What Rockingham used to be. Long green flag runs and tearing the hell out of tires. That's what Rockingham used to be. Homestead's turning into that. Tires was the big thing. If you had a fresh set of tires on, you were all of a sudden 6 to 7 miles per hour quicker than the other guys who didn't have those fresh tires. So tires was the key. They talked about that most of the race. Got tired of hearing about how important tires was. But, yeah, the race itself wasn't that great. The championship contenders didn't race one another really hard throughout. That's actually because they were trying to keep up with one car in particular, and that was Kyle Larson. So the Chevys missed the top 4 dance, but man, they put on a hell of a show out there with Kyle Larson's Chevy leading the way. I mean, he was kicking ass. He had a 9-second. He won stage 1 9 seconds over Brad Keselowski. So the Penske Ford of Brad Keselowski and Harvick's Haas Ford was hanging around in the top 5, but the longer the race went on, especially in stage 3, the Fords really started to disappear. Especially Brad Keselowski. He fell like a rock, and he was desperate to do anything. So that last stint during the race, he brings his car to pit road, which forces the hands of the other team, which is what you try to do. You try to hit pit road, see if the other guys will do it. And they did, except for Kyle Busch. Adam Stevens made a ballsy call tonight. Left Kyle Busch out on the racetrack to try to make the race a one-stop, because they were talking about, well, we'll run about 30 to 35 laps on a set of tires pit. So that makes Brad Keselowski, Truex Jr., and Harvick have to stop 2 more times in the race if it goes green from that point on, which was like 90-some laps to go. But Kyle Busch stays on the racetrack. He runs like 50-some laps on those set of tires to make it a one-stop race. Ballsy call to see if that's going to work. I mean, but Kyle Busch was the quickest of the guys out there anyway. So when he stays out on the racetrack, he's all of a sudden got like a 33-second lead, and he's put Harvick, Truex, and Keselowski a lap down. But we'll never know if that call worked, because the caution actually did come out. So that reset everything and put everybody back on the same strategy. But pretty ballsy move by Adam Stevens. And I wonder if the race would have continued on, would that work? Would have Kyle Busch won the championship doing that had it gone green? I have no idea. But anyway, green flag run for the last 34 laps. And then with 10 to go, Kyle Busch did reel in Martin Truex Jr. But Martin Truex Jr. was just able to hang on. And I think he won the race with about 0.5 of a second over Kyle Busch. That's how close it was. And Martin Truex Jr. owes a lot of thanks for Kyle Larson, because Kyle Larson was putting some heat on Busch for second. So Busch had to kind of drive with his rearview mirror while he was trying to see his championship out the windshield. But yeah, so Martin Truex Jr. hangs on, wins. I'm happy to see that result. It was a good result, good finish. But as far as the championship race, I don't know, man. It lacks some excitement. But I'm sure Martin Truex Jr. could have done without the excitement. I'm pretty sure he liked it the way it was. Which actually, he was complaining about his car in the early stages of the race, saying it wasn't good. He actually used the word ridiculous. Said this car is ridiculous. Anyway, let's take a look at the top 20 finishers of the Ford EcoBoost 400 from Homestead Miami Speedway. Of course, Martin Truex Jr. wins the war and the battle. He would win the race, 8th win of the season. Kyle Busch would be second, coming up just that much, missed it by that much, of winning the championship. Kyle Larson would be third, kind of a bittersweet run for him today. He won both stage 1 and 2, and if it wouldn't have been for all that bad luck that he had in the playoffs, I mean, who knows? He could have been racing for a championship tonight, but I'm sure next season, Kyle Larson's going to be the guy. You check it out. Next season, Kyle Larson's going to be racing for a championship at Homestead. I just got a feeling about it. Kevin Harvick would be 4th, another championship contender. He'd be the highest finishers in the Fords. Chase Elliott, another winless year, but I think next year he'll get that first win. I'm pretty positive about it, but still ending the year really good with a 5th place finish. Joey Logano would be the highest of the Penske finishers in 6th place. The wrong Penske car finishing high. They wanted Brad Keselowski to do it. Brad Keselowski would finish 7th, and he was the lowest finisher of the championship contenders. He started out strong, man. His first stage, he was running up there in 2nd place, but the longer the race went on, good Lord, did you guys hear that? The longer the race went on, had like a little mini stroke. His car would get worse and worse. So he would wind up 7th. Matt Kenseth would finish 8th in what was possibly his last NASCAR start. I don't know. I'm pretty sure we'll see him again, but he finished 8th. 9th would be Denny Hamlin, who started from the pole, and rounding out the top 10 would be Ryan Newman. Austin Dillon would be 11th. Clint Boyer would be 12th, Jamie McMurray 13th, A.J. Allmendinger 14th, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 15th, Paul Menard making his last run in that 27 car would be 16th. He'll be driving for the Wood Brothers next season. David Reagan finishing the year off strong. He'd be 17th, and Eric Almirola making his last start in that number 43, which will become Bubba Wallace Jr.'s car next year. He finished 18th, Trevor Bayne 19th, and Chris Buescher having a very strong end to the year, who started 29th. He would finish 20th. Good job to Chris Buescher. Dale Earnhardt Jr. making his last NASCAR start. He'll finish 25th. Had a flat tire there at the end, but he was in high spirits. He's all done. Last time we'll ever see Jr. out on the racetrack. He finished 25th. And, of course, like I said, Danica Patrick making her last start as well as a full-time driver. She would finish 37th. And a number of laps down due to that incident on the racetrack. So that's it. That's it, guys. The 2017 season is over. And now begins, what in the world am I going to do with my Sundays? Because there is no more racing on. But hey, look at it this way. There's only 92 days until Daytona. At President's Day weekend, they'll be back around, and the season will get kicked off again. But don't worry, this may be the end of the recaps, and there may be no racing on, but NRN will be in full swing over the offseason, doing all kinds of silly season news, and this new segment called Make NASCAR Great Again, because I think I have some ideas on how to do it. Anywho, thanks for tuning in to this recap. I hope you enjoyed the race, and I hope you enjoyed the season. It was a pretty good playoff season, and I'm happy to see that 78 team walk away with the cup. I'm Justin with NRN. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next season to talk some more racing, because Daytona is coming up, and who knows what we will see when we get there. And, by the way, before I go off, I want to say Happy Thanksgiving, stay safe, and eat lots of turkey.